This is John Brown, johntbrown.com. This is my final design for what I am currently calling the K Monster. Her origin and her purpose will be hopefully revealed at a later time. This is my fourth character for a short that I'm developing about a snow story. So I think this is going to be the final character. After I do this one here, there might be one other character that I might introduce, but for all intents and purposes, I think I'm done with my character design. So this is in Photoshop. I did the rough on paper as I did with the other three characters. I had Buck and Huck and Buck and Huck and K. And so this is K Monster. I like the design. I kind of kept it simple. I've kind of got the flour sack, the chest, and the hips, and the body. The arms are fairly. You can see that the line work is fairly simple. I wanted to get the construction of the body pretty well set before I laid down the lines, so that I can have something to kind of base those lines on. I wanted to have a fairly simple, expressive face and a fairly simple, expressive body. So I'm hoping that it's going to be the animation when I get to the animation phase is going to be fairly big, broad kind of animation. I did my roughs on pencil or on paper with a pencil, and then I cleaned it up in here. I just find that that's a system that works well for me if I do my roughs on paper. I do quite a bit of roughs on digitally as well, and I have a few other kind of tutorials where I've done some tutorials on paper, and I've also done some tutorials on working directly digitally in either Photoshop or Toon Boom. I'm teaching a class right now in Adobe Animate. Originally, that's what I kind of worked in the industry. I worked in Adobe Flash, which is now Adobe Animate. So I might do a couple things in Adobe Animate at some point. But for this project, again, I don't know exactly what program I'm gonna use for this. I might do some roughs traditionally, just to kind of get the timing down and get the lines of action and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what these characters are designed to do, is to have nice, big, broad actions, so you can use really strong lines of action and translate that hopefully into some nice animation, a frame by frame animation. I might do a couple builds on this where I'm going to be utilizing some of the animation tools in whatever program I'm using, but again, I kind of like the fact that this might be more traditional. So, and you'll notice I closed off that line of his head, so that if I ever get to animation phase and I'm doing my coloring and all that, I can have separate segments. So the head is a separate segment. I could do that with like an invisible line later on in animation, but I kind of want to keep it nice and simple. Again, the shape of the head I'm going to try and keep nice and simple. He's got kind of a big old cone head, right? Again, you can kind of see that flour sack, the volume of the chest and the volume of the hips here in the side view in particular. Yeah, so I might go a little bit thicker on these lines now that I'm kind of looking at it right now. I basically did this. I drew this character, and it took me about 45, 50 minutes, and I've condensed this down into about 8 minutes. So now that I'm looking at it here on the screen, I might go a little bit thicker on those lines. I'm kind of liking the black lines. I've got black lines, I believe, for all my characters. I don't think I'm going to go with like a darker version of the internal color. However, we'll have to see how that kind of turns out. I think the backgrounds in this animated short are going to be fairly light in color. I'm thinking because it's going to be a snow background, there's going to be a lot of kind of whites and maybe some washed out forms in the background, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the background for this particular short. I'm going to try and concentrate more on the character animation. animation. So I really like doing hands. Hands are great. They're really expressive. They're a fun thing to kind of incorporate in the animation on hands. Is can, like I said, be really expressive and help to kind of carry the character through and get some kind of subtlety in acting. So I generally like to include my hands in my turnarounds. So I probably for Buck, I've got a couple of like kind of character poses and expression poses. I don't know if I'm going to go that far on all the characters. I might do that kind of on my own time, but that's also something you're going to want to do in any character that you design. You're going to want to have some sort of expression sheet where we can see the characters in all the expressions they're going to need, and also body posing. It just helps when you kind of get to the animation stage, and then when I start to animate, what I like to do is kind of print all these off and have these up and around my studio so that I can kind of take a look at these and reference these as I'm animating. So I think that about does it for the line work. So I pulled up all the other characters that I've already posted on YouTube, and I basically I'm going to try and work a color palette that they all kind of fit together. Now this might change. I'm liking that's K there in the blue, so I tried a little bit of the blue that K was under, right? So I wanted to have, as you'll see in the video or in the hopefully in the finished film, that K and the K monster have obviously are linked in some way. So I wanted them to be fairly consistent in their color scheme, but I also want them to kind of be able to relate to the other characters as well, as far as color and style and all that kind of thing. When I'm animating, sometimes when I'm designing stuff, sometimes it's difficult because I've drawn in other people's styles, so it's difficult to kind of find your own style sometimes when you've done a number of other different kinds of styles. So I'm sure that this is my style, but it's an amalgamation of a lot of things I've worked on as well. So yeah. So again, I'm kind of keeping it pretty simple as far as color scheme. I think I went with 3 or 4 shades of blue here, just so that when I get to the animation stage, I'm not necessarily having to do a lot of frame by frame shading, which can kind of be a pain in the ass. But a drop shadow like this is nice to have, because then you can have a little bit more depth in your characters. So there you have it. K Monster. He's blue, dark blue, and blue. I had fun doing this guy or girl. As I'm looking at it right now, I might throw in a little lighter shade as well, but kind of a highlight. I don't know if I did that here at the end. Maybe I did. There you go. I think that's it, right? So this is K Monster. This is the 4th in a series of characters that I'm doing for a Snowstory. Please stick around. John T. Brown, johntbrown.com. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.